Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, would you agree, ma'am, that when things get better, when COVID hopefully goes away, it's not going to be a return to what it was? We have to embrace change. We have to embrace change in terms of embracing the environment. We have to embrace a new style of work. We have to perhaps embrace a new way in which we look at our economy. It just cannot be GDP, GDP, GDP. We perhaps need to future-proof ourselves as far as health is concerned. How do you see the road ahead being very different from what it's been?
Well, I completely agree with Sadhguru when he says that it's really an urban problem and it's about urban India that needs to change. Now, I think it's very idealistic to expect people to think about these wonderful clean days that we've spent over the last few weeks and hope that we won't get back to our old bad habits. The one thing I'm hoping is that the work from home, which has worked for corporate India, is going to be adopted in a much bigger way than what was previously thought of. Because I think that can actually reduce vehicular the pollution. And I'm just hoping that every industry really works out a policy where you actually reduce the vehicular pollution that is being caused through commuting. And I know that this is something which every company will think of. But to expect it to come, to keep continuing and hoping that everyone won't pollute and will be very responsible and start riding bikes, I think is expecting too much. I think it's going to be, we can enjoy this maybe for the rest of the year, but I'm afraid that we'll get back to our bad habits before too long. So we do need policy. We do need to, make people pay for polluting. I also believe that, we've also seen all our water bodies being cleaned up because of, industrial pollution not being there. And I wish the pollution control agencies would actually stop those polluters from polluting our waterways and make sure that they actually, as Sadhguru said, we must actually make effluent treatment a business which has to be mandated, which service providers can actually make into a business. Otherwise, you're going to see people polluting like before. That's my concern.
Since we do have you here, and it's wonderful to always be speaking to you, everybody is worried about what our future is. What role will Indians and Indian companies play in fighting COVID-19 in terms of ultimately a cure or a drug in the meanwhile?
I think there are multiple efforts afoot for developing a vaccine ASAP. There are lots of drugs that are being tried for treating and seeing whether we can save seriously infected patients. I think we need to test and make sure that there is good surveillance. I think when the lockdown is being lifted in a graded way, I do hope people will protect themselves with masks and keep others protected. I think we need to make sure that we are very disciplined about the surveillance protocols. I think in the workplace, corporates must do their bit of ensuring that people are safe in the workplace and that they track and have vigil on their own employees. So I think a lot has to be done from corporate India. But I think, we are talking about the environment. And I think here corporate India can actually play a big role, because any industry, any sector that's a huge employer must play its bit.
Sure.
And its role in cleaning up, in helping to reduce pollution.
Right. Well, Ms. Shaw, thanks very much for your views. We really do all need to come together to try and reduce pollution for starters. There's so much more that we can do.